Shalom, Beth El family. It is Thursday, once again, time to review our Torah talk from Congregation Beth El here in Norfolk last Shabbat. The parsha last Shabbat was Lech Licha, a classic story of God coming to Abraham and them forming a relationship, Abraham and Sarah going out to the place that God would show them. So we started out our talk with a very simple question, which is, when you're about to pack for a trip, what's the first thing that you do? Overwhelmingly, the answer was you check the weather for wherever you're going, because you don't know what to pack till you check the weather. And then we mentioned a few other things you might want to find out about the culture. Do they have certain norms in how they dress? Are there modesty issues? Is it a safe place? Do you need a special belt to hold your documents and money because there's a lot of thieves around? Maybe even do you need a weapon? So you would check all those things before you traveled anywhere. Do you need shots, right? But what would you pack if you had to pack to go someplace and you didn't know where you were going? Now, people shout out, everything. Okay, so we don't live in a society where you're allowed to pack everything when you go on a trip, right? Let's say you get one carry-on and one medium-sized suitcase, right? Because we're not savages, but we're pretty close to savages when it comes to packing for trips. So if that's all you got to bring, what would you pack? And the reason I asked the question is because this is the situation that Avram and Sarai, right, who will later become Avraham and Sarah, this is the situation they find themselves in. God comes to them and says, Lech Licha, right, go out, me'artzecha, from your land, u'mimoladetecha, from the place you were born, uvetecha, from your home, right, where? To the place Asher Areka, to the land that I will show you, right? Asher Areka. Why doesn't God just tell them, you're going to Canaan? God's going to be coy all of a sudden? And, he's asking them to pick up their entire lives and to move their entire lives, to a completely new place, a completely new land. The least he could do is mention to them, hey, this is where you're going. So the commentators ask this question also. Why does God not just tell them where they're going? And Rashi, the medieval commentator, sort of the granddaddy of Torah commentary, he gives two reasons why God doesn't tell him the names. The first one is that if they didn't know where they were going, they would be more excited to reach the place. I'm not sure I totally agree with this one. Okay, so the idea is like, everybody loves surprises, but I'm not sure everyone loves surprises, especially when they're traveling with all their family and all their belongings and everything they know and everything they own. Maybe a surprise isn't such a good thing. When Tammy and I are packing for a trip, my wife and I, we like to know where we're going. Surprises are not something we want. Next, Rashi tells us that by not telling him exactly where he's going, by having him take a little more of an act of faith, he multiplies his schar, right? Multiplies his reward, multiplies his merit for following this mitzvah. And by the way, that's how he explains why it says, leave your land, your birthplace, your home, that every one of these things multiplies Abraham and Sarah's merit a little bit more. And so too by not telling them. Again, I'm not sure how compelling I find that. There's got to be something more going on here for God to not tell them the place. So I think, right, when God has God's first conversation with Avram and Sarai, God is not only having a conversation with them, God is having a conversation with us. Right? With all the Jewish people who would come after, these 3,500 years on. And when God doesn't tell them exactly where they're going, it's not only a message for them, it's a message for us. Right? So all they know is that they're going to a promised land. It doesn't matter that it's Canaan at this point. Later it'll become very important that it's Canaan. But all they know is they're traveling to a promised land. Right? Because you know what? We're all on a journey. God is telling us this so many generations later. We're all searching for a promised land. And so if we can figure out what Avram and Sarai, who were so successful on their journey, what they brought with them, maybe it'll help remind us what we should be bringing with us on our journey as well. So what do they bring? They pack only two things. I'm sure they pack other things, but we only know about two things, right? It doesn't report to us that they brought lots of gold, that they brought lots of weapons or arms or cattle or soldiers or garments or food. What do we know that they brought? They brought their family and they brought their faith. And those two things are not any less relevant to us for our journeys 3,500 years later than they were to our ancestors when this journey started. You know, it is no coincidence, I think, that our world feels like it's turning upside down and inside out. And at the same time, our emphasis on family and faith have become less. And you could say, the fact that that's happening at the same time does not necessarily mean it's causative, but I'm going to say it is. I'm going to say that, the world is always chaotic. But when we abandon those fundamental tools, the baggage that we bring with us to protect us everywhere we go, the baggage of family and the baggage of faith, that it feels even more chaotic. You could say, oh, sure, family and faith, those were fine 3,500 years ago, but the world's changed. I don't think the world's changed as much as we think. The truth is that if we want our lives and this world and this journey that we are on to make more sense, we need to start prioritizing family and faith just like Avram and Sarai. And by the way, it's not their kids who they bring. Avram and Sarai, we know they travel with a lot of people. They travel with Lot, his nephew, and whoever's willing to come with them. Family means the extended family, the whole clan, the whole chamula, as we would say, right? And faith, what does it mean that they travel with their faith? It means that they are acting and behaving based on their faith. So if we can discover how to do that in our lives, we can discover the same stability and success that they discovered. Right? That's how we make our journey that points us to the promised land. It is time to start reprioritizing our time and the decisions we make to emphasize our immediate and extended family, and to emphasize our faith and how it acts in our everyday lives. That means that when we're planning trips, we need to plan trips to see family, even if it means we might not get to take the certain vacation that we wanted to take, because family needs to be prioritized, right? It means that we need to learn to take some time off from screens in our lives, right? I'm guilty of it. I sleep with my phone next to my bed, and the first thing I'll do when I wake up is check, what did I miss from the night before? What do I have to do today? I've worked really hard to not touch my phone before I turn and I say good morning to Tammy, before I go and check on my kids. It's a challenge for me. So I'm not judging. I'm not saying that this is easy, but these are the priorities when we put family first. Right? I was having this conversation with a friend of mine who's a pastor, and he said, I don't know, Jeff. I think that people are prioritizing family so much more. My people, they spend all their time shuttling their kids around. They don't have time to do anything else. And I said, that's not emphasizing family. That's family-based idolatry. Right? Taking this kid to this, and this kid to that, and this kid to that. That is not family time. Family time does not happen when we're chauffeuring our kids someplace. Family time happens when we give up one of those activities to make sure we're all home and around the dinner table together. When we do that, the world will start to make more sense. And the same thing goes with faith. Right? We need to make the priority of doing our faith, not just thinking it. People tell me all the time, Rabbi, I believe in God. I'm very spiritual. I'm just not religious. What does that mean exactly? What are they saying? Well, I think what people are saying is, I think it, I feel it, I just don't really do it. Well, you know what? That's why the world seems so wrong, because you have to do it. Believing in God is fine. That's basic faith. Saying you're spiritual, that's theology. But religion, that's behavior. That means changing what you do because of what you believe. And the truth is, being spiritual is not enough. The world is not going to make sense just because we think about spirit. It has to be in what we do and why we do it. To do acts of kindness because we're religious people. To come together in service, religious service, and tikkun olam, social action service, because we believe in God. Right? That's what Abraham and Sarah do time and again. They change their lives because of their belief. That's the faith that Abraham packs. And it's a faith that we need to pack as well. Avram and Sarai remind us that you have to take action, and that action is religious life. Through a synagogue or whatever community you may call your spiritual home. Through faith-inspired good works and through committing time and energy to a religious community. Faith and family, that's the plan. If we want to reach the promised land, we need to do like our ancestors did. I know it seems like we may be a long way away from the promised land, but the truth is, your bags are already packed with what you need, right? Family ties, faith, and a community, a spiritual community to connect with. And what you need to do to get there and help the world as we get there as well is to unpack those things and to make them part of our everyday existence. We need to take them out of our bags, family and faith, and move forward together to a truly promised land. And hopefully we'll be able to bring the whole world there, our community and our nation there with us. Shabbat Shalom.